Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Talk About It show. I'm Guy Worthy with my co-host, Rox Berkey. Hi, Rox.
Hi, Guy. Let's Talk About It is the Rave Waves production where we take on the controversial or popular topics of the day and try to relate those topics to books that can be found in our RRBC catalog written by our awesome RRBC members. This way, we can open a much needed dialogue platform while also promoting RRBC member books when they're related to the subject.
Our RBC is a family-friendly show, sharing opinions while allowing for different viewpoints, which are respected, even if sometimes they're not agreed to by everyone, is how we operate here. We appreciate and want your opinions and questions as a part of this open and transparent conversation.
RRBC is best known for only promoting our own members in Rave Waves, but Nani created Let's Talk About It to be a different kind of show. We open this forum up to outside guests who can enlighten us as well as educate us on some topics of the day. Today, we want to discuss the shift in the homeless population since COVID and some of the programs that are available to those in need. Joining us today to help us understand the current dynamics is Nicholas Colletti, Chief Development Officer at the Bridge Homeless Recovery Center in Dallas, Texas. Welcome, Nick.
Let me unmute. Thank you. Welcome. I'm very happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. And audience, we'll be opening the floor for questions and comments for today's guest. Throughout the show, your mics should remain muted mostly. If you'd like to be acknowledged, just a little wave of your hand will get our attention. And we also encourage use of that chat gallery over there for any questions or comments you have during the show. We'll be checking those as well. The impact of COVID on individuals and families extends beyond the illness and has led to extra homelessness. So, Rox, I think we're ready to start talking.
I agree. So, Nick, let's begin with you. You head up a support center that works with Parkland Hospital to help people. Are you seeing an increase in homelessness in your area?
Without question. And there's a couple of things driving that. First of all, we kind of in Texas have done this big exhale with regards to COVID-19. I mean, I wouldn't call it a false sense of security, but there is a feeling that things have improved. But I can tell you, we do have our antenna up regarding the Delta variant. And one of the biggest fears that we have had as a homeless system provider within the network here in Dallas is nothing would be more painful than a community spread inside of a homeless shelter. They are the most vulnerable. Our homeless guests have, most of them, weakened or compromised immune systems, and the contraction of the coronavirus would be an awful thing. So with everything starting to ease up, we started to see more traffic back into the bridge. Pre-COVID-19, pre-March 16th, 2020, when the shelter-in-place order was kicked in, we were seeing 900 homeless people per day, visitors on our campus. When the shelter-in-place order was kicked into play and we had tough protocols regarding social distancing, disinfecting, mask wearing, we had to limit this, we had to eliminate all group activities on campus, and our volunteers were kept away. A lot has changed. So we're starting to see that come back now, right? But we don't know what's going to happen effective July 31st. We have a pretty good idea. And that would be the lifting of the eviction moratorium here locally. And for whatever this has been, 16 months where people haven't paid for rent and they've accrued these gigantic balances, and they're going to owe, I mean, people are going to owe $10,000, $12,000 in back rent. I'm pretty sure people don't have that kind of amount laying around, and we anticipate seeing a large new infusion of homeless guests coming into the bridge, as well as many other homeless shelter providers here in North Texas.
So Nick, are you seeing, you're talking about the individuals that come through, are you seeing a greater impact on families losing their homes as well, or is it primarily individuals at this point?
Families too are affected by this. Absolutely. It is not just an individual thing. The bridge is a unique recovery center in that we're a low barrier shelter, right? We don't make any judgments about anybody. Your only qualification is that you're 18 years old and you're a male or female adult. That's it. We do not take children. You would need to go to like Family Gateway for homeless shelter services with children. The reason for that is because we're a low barrier. We take some folks that have been incarcerated, and they come into our population, they integrate, but some of them may have had records that would not be a good thing to connect them with children. Let's put it that way. So we do not permit or allow children on campus.
Fair
Hey,
enough.
can we just step up? Yeah, can we take a step back and Nick, could you just tell us about, 900 sounds enormous to me. I live in this tiny little town that's like half the population. So tell me about the bridge and
Sure.
and how does that work?
The bridge was founded 13 years ago, and it was the vision of then Mayor Mike Rollins from Dallas, who saw the solution to homelessness not as simply providing shelter, but really helping individuals make the transition from homelessness to homeless recovery and helping them find employment and therefore a place of their own. So our focus is not just on night shelter. We are Dallas's exclusive 24/7, 365-day per year day and night shelter. And we provide an entire suite of services for the homeless guests. It takes a lot of courage for a homeless individual to walk through the door, through our portal into intake to say, I need help. And they come in, they share their story. Our licensed social workers listen, and they have to have skin in the game. They have to want the help too, right? So that's part of what happens. But we have, like you had mentioned earlier, Rocks, Parkland Clinic is on campus, Metro Care Services that provides mental health and behavioral health services, addiction recovery services. We have a barber shop. We have a library. Texas Workforce Commission is on campus. The VA, the Social Security Administration, Texas Legal Aid. We even have a kennel for guests who have a canine companion who won't part with that companion, and we have room for them, and we have a beautiful, beautiful kennel that we work with, and on campus, and it works out very well. So we want everybody to know that we're a great place to help them recover. We're not home. This is not the end game. This is not their last stop. We are doing everything we can to build an effective care and exit strategy for them the day they walk in. So the bridge, as I said, is all about a comprehensive recovery plan from homelessness.
Mm-hmm. And for your homeless guests that come in, how often is medical treatment a key issue?
It's a great question. It's more frequent than you can imagine. And here is a demographic breakdown that might help to explain things. Nationally, 50% of homeless individuals in America are Caucasian. 39% are African American. Here in Dallas, it is like almost reversed. Our current population, 66% of our current campus population is African American. So there's a big difference between the national average and what's going on here in Dallas. And with that comes some acute chronic illnesses that are found in the African American community. Hypertension, diabetes are a couple of the common health problems that they face, and we have to be aware of that, sensitive to it. Years ago, the Bridge used to be the #1 user of 911 services in Dallas, Texas. But through a funding program, we had the cost of having a full-time EMT on campus. So if an individual should collapse, we have an EMT response system on campus that can provide the requisite medical care for those in need. So it's really a great thing that we have that on campus. But the illnesses vary. 66% of our population is medically fine, physically fine. They can do things. They can find work. They can live on their own. But a third of our population has chronic to serious ailments, both physical and mental health challenges that really prohibit them from being able to live on their own. So there's so much going on. And COVID obviously has thrown a gigantic stick in our spokes.
Yeah. Yep. So I know in your role, or at least I suspect, that you reach out to other programs in different locations across the United States, as well as in Texas, that are similar to yours and not similar to yours. Do you kind of collaborate in a way that some groups are taking steps that you guys would like to add into your program, or help other groups take on steps that you already know work well?
Again, great question. It works both ways, right? A lot of people have found out about the Bridge in other cities, and they have flown in to look at our model, whether it's Bellevue, Washington, Bakersfield, California, Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, Chicago. Many cities have come to observe. But there are some things that we haven't necessarily been expert at. We have had a relatively new outreach program. When somebody comes to the Bridge and they enter our intake area for help, that getting that homeless individual off the street is a big deal. But there are still way too many homeless individuals who won't come, who won't get off the street, who won't leave the overpass at the interstate highway. And we literally have to go out from our facility in a van with certified and licensed social workers and talk to them, and in many cases plead with them to come and get off the street and come to the Bridge. And that outreach program is something that we're always looking to fine tune and refine. And we've talked to other cities about the effectiveness and efficiency of their outreach programs.
Wow.
So Karen has a question. She wants to know, is there an effort to offer vaccinations to your guests? Absolutely.
It's underway right now. We had early on, we were an early adopter of COVID-19 tests. We facilitated them with the help of our campus partner, Parkland Clinic. And then we did rapid COVID-19 testing. And then we were approved early on for the vaccine. And because of the transient nature of the homeless individual, a 2-shot solution from either Moderna or Pfizer wasn't really a probably effective way to go about. So we had to wait for the FDA's approval for Johnson and Johnson, so they can have a single dose. And once that emergency edict was passed, to this, I mean, we're doing it now. So I might add, there is, for some really unknown reason, there remains some hesitancy by some in the homeless community to get vaccinated. They've heard of a lot of things out in the street, and most of it is gossip. I don't know why they're reluctant. Some are, and I'm sure there are some medical reasons too, but the majority of our guests who are getting night shelter have been vaccinated.
Nice. So is there a time limit that you set when you intake your guests into the facility? That question comes from Nani.
No, there is not. And it's really because it's not a cookie cutter solution. Every individual that we talk to about their homeless experience is unique. We may come across somebody who's had a catastrophic event in their life, and homelessness is brand new to them, and they mustered up the courage. They have nowhere to go, no family, no financial resources, and they came to us in the most desperate time of their lives. And we help them get back on their feet. And, maybe in 4 to 6 months, everything's good. We get them connected with an interview. We got them hired, and they're having some income, and we get them an apartment of their own. And sometimes it could take 6 months. Sometimes it can take a year. It just depends on the individual. But there's no time clock. Somebody comes in and we don't say, you've got 6 months to turn your life around. No, it doesn't work that way.
Very cool. So you mentioned earlier, Nick, that you're out trying to get the people out from under the bridges and the ones that for whatever reason feel more comfortable, having the big skies above them. But there's a lot of people that are panhandling on the busy streets and on the freeways. It's kind of scary. And people sometimes give coins to those people. And is there a better way that the general population, citizens, whether it's here in Dallas or other places, that can help without necessarily just giving them some change?
I think there is. And
what would you recommend, please?
I would advocate that if homelessness affects you and tugs at your heart, and there's an emotional connection to helping the homeless, then I would say reach into your pocketbook and pick out and identify a homeless shelter, a homeless solutions provider, and make a donation to them. Let them deliver the programs and the services to the homeless. That is the most efficient way for your dollars to be used. We hear war stories all the time. I gave somebody who said they hadn't eaten in 5 days, and I gave them $5, and 2 minutes later, I saw them at the liquor store. Well, okay, that's what we all understand. That's what happens, right? So that's my counsel. Give it to an organization that is going to put those dollars to good use.
So, Nick, I'm from a small town. So, your organization in particular, a whole campus, sounds just amazing to me. We don't have freeways, so we don't have any freeway bridges. Then anyway, suppose suppose a family finds themselves evicted, which I didn't know that Texas had the eviction moratorium, because I mean our state does. I'm sure it varies from state to state, but when that happens, I'm with you. There's going to be an amazing tidal wave, isn't there? But I digress. What I want to ask is, So if a family comes to you homeless, what's the ideal case? So what's the win?
Are you talking about a family specifically with children? Or are you
Oh,
talking about?
no. Yeah, and I didn't. Yeah, let me rephrase. An individual. Let's suppose an
Okay.
individual comes homeless. What would you count as super success?
The person comes through intake. They sit down with one of our licensed and certified social workers. We identify first how they wound up in the position they're in. We would find out if really soon if a family intervention was possible. Most often it is not. Okay. So after we've checked those boxes, we develop and build for them with their assistance a care and exit strategy. And when they're on campus, they have obviously night shelter. We provide 3 meals a day. We provide outstanding hygiene with renovated, clean restrooms and showers. We have clothes for them, especially if they're going on an interview. We can give them coaching on how to participate in a successful interview. But we build this plan and we ask them to follow along, and they buy in, and we ask them to meet with their assigned social worker, their caseworker. And every step of the way, we're monitoring the progress that they've made or that they are making. Are they going out for their interviews? Are they showing up on time? All those kinds of things. So the win would be in 90 days. I mean, this would be the nirvana state, obviously, that somebody came in, we found them a job, we got them back on their feet, they have some income, there's a landlord who has an opening in a apartment complex, and we can make that work with our housing navigators on campus, and we transition that person into their own unit. Now, one of the things we do also, that will be the last thing I say about this, when we put somebody in housing, we don't just say, bye-bye, nice knowing you, and have a great life. That social worker, that assigned social worker, is checking in with them weekly, then monthly, and we keep tabs on them to make sure everything is going well. And the data that supports our matches says that today, after 9 months, 84% of our housing referrals are in the same facility they were when we placed them. So getting the right match matters too.
Oh, I think that's remarkable as can be. So if you have someone that you've got on a plan and they just seem to be kind of slipping, because people are human and they make mistakes and they sometimes make more than one mistake, is there like a limit where you say, okay, you're obviously not buying into this. It's kind of a partnership here that we have going on. Do you reach a point where they need to go?
Well, we will always stick with somebody to the best of our ability. If somebody is disruptive on campus, use your imagination. If somebody's confrontational or getting in fights and arguing, those kinds of things aren't permitted on campus. We have a full-time safety and security staff of 22 licensed professionals, so that's in place too. But really, we're not, the meter's not running on chances, right? If somebody's slipping or having a relapse, especially those with an addiction problem, we want to get them the help that they need. Somebody asked the question one time, do you accept people that are high or drunk if they come to you? And the answer is absolutely we do. We get them in and we get them help. So those are the kinds of things that we do. But if you're just saying the person has a difficult time following through, we're going to keep counseling them and working with them.
Nice.
Hey, Dick, we have a member of the club who donates the profits from his stories to a local community program for the homeless, which
Excellent.
is very good. In
Terrific.
your case, yeah, this is great. In your case, if you got some donation money, how would that be spent?
Well, I'll tell you what's very popular right now here in Texas is keeping our guests hydrated. We are asking for donations of bottled water. Many times the oppressive heat here has a devastating toll on an individual. And we are constantly looking for hydration sources. So whether it's bottled water, Gatorade, Powerade, whatever, those kinds of drinks are really important for our homeless guests right now. So the short answer to somebody who's looking to make a donation, that would be at the top of our list right now. We are constantly having to buy lots of fluids.
So Karen brings up a good question or a good comment that once upon a time she spent time battling the closing of a mental health hospital in her area because the hospital was a place that always took their guests and patients back to the place they left. You're not trying to get them back to where they were as much as you're trying to get them to move forward is kind of what I feel. And I think, Karen, does that resonate with what you're trying to say?
I think that what happens is that a lot of times the homeless people, at least when the hospitals were closing, were people that they needed direction or they needed medication. They would be tossed out or released from the hospital. They would go out, do well for a few weeks, and then have some major problems. When the hospitals closed, there was no place for them to go to get the help and the support that they needed. And the missions are very good at trying to do what they can do to provide a place for them to sleep, a meal, and maybe some direction for a job. But a lot of times there's more needed than that. And I think that the closure of a lot of the medical health facilities and the hospitals really put a lot more homeless on the streets.
That is absolutely true. You will get no argument from me on that. That has happened, and that's real world. I can tell you that for the individuals that we work with and ones that we help, they do return to the bridge sometimes just to reconnect with their social worker. And they may have a mental health challenge, and they find talking to that individual helps them. So they may be off-site permanently in their apartment, but they come back for the connection and the relationship that the bridge had with them.
And that's what's so important, to have someone there, kind of a crutch or a support, or I don't know what the right word would be, but yeah, that social worker or that medical person. I live in Pennsylvania, and we have a place here, Bethesda Mission. And the mission is phenomenal in what they do or try to do for the homeless. But even though it is there, and a lot of people donate time and money and blankets and food and water, we still have these people living under the bridges or living at the edge of the park who want no part of the mission or of any indoor space. And I think a lot of that is just the fear of someone in their own mind. They fear someone is trying to control them. And, what do you do to try to help them? There's only so much that can be done.
So true again, Karen, that, your assessment is spot on. There is this, we have to fight something all the time, called NIMBYism, not in my backyardism, where political operatives in town say, well, in my precinct, we're already helping the homeless. We don't want that shelter to expand because we don't want any more homeless people migrating over to my ward or my district. And it's, you know, this whole concept of NIMBYism really bugs
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, well, it's everything's great, but not in my backyard.
Correct.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right. You know,
exactly. Yeah,
that's what
and
happens.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That brings me to a question. So Nick, you and the bridge, I mean, you're doing fabulous work and you're making a positive impact on homelessness in the Dallas area. What, without being political or anything, but what government policy changes would be helpful for your work? Any
Well,
level of government, anything.
I would say off the top of my head, I don't know if my boss would hit me or not, but
We
we
won't
need
tell
more. We need more vouchers, right? The government subsidizes the homeless with these vouchers that they can go in and pay to a landlord, and they're like gold, right? So here in Dallas, this is an example, right? We know that the average cost of a 1-bedroom apartment in Dallas, Texas is now $1,250 a month. Okay. So let's say Mr. Jones is homeless. He gets a job at a manufacturing plant. He works the night shift. He gets $15 an hour. Do the math, you know, he's going to make whatever that is, $600 a week, right? And he gets gross $2,400
a month.
a month. I'm just making up numbers here. I'm not great at math. So after taxes, maybe that person's going to have $1,700, right? Okay. So their rent is $1,250. They're getting $1,600 to $1,700 cash. They have to pay transportation costs, insurance, utilities, food, medication. They kind of have to live on $400. Well, this voucher can help pay that gap, right? So I wish the government wasn't so tight-fisted with these vouchers and they were worth more. Okay. Because let's say the voucher is worth $300. Well, $300 is $300. But wouldn't it be great if that voucher was $750 for a $1,250 apartment? Now that person has real income that they can help to rebuild their lives with. So from my perspective, that would be awesome if these vouchers had more value and there were more of them.
So Nick, these vouchers can only be used for rent, so it's not something that someone could cash
Correct.
in and go back and buy drugs or any of that.
Correct.
Not to be narrow-minded, but
Correct. That's all. Yeah, they're housing vouchers exclusively, and they come from HUD, and it's a program that they have, and they're popular. They're like gold. When they're announced that they're going to be distributed at whatever site they're at, people line up for blocks for them.
What is the criteria to qualify for one of? I've never heard of that. I think it's a fabulous idea. What's the criteria to qualify for a housing voucher?
Well, I think you have to be homeless. I think you have to be at a proven and established poverty level. So those are a couple of qualifiers that come to mind. Virtually everybody that we have on campus who is qualified to live on their own and live in a life of self-sufficiency is eligible to get a voucher.
Wow, that's impressive.
you know, it's interesting, Nick, because, you know, there may be, as Karen said, she hadn't heard of that before. There may be some homeless people that aren't aware that that's one of the benefits they can get. So do your counselors on site help navigate those kind of benefits as well as help them become healthy and productive?
Absolutely. Again, a great question. We have great resources on campus. You would be surprised to learn that an individual, a male, for example, is a veteran. They have no idea that they are entitled to really great veterans benefits that can help them. They have no idea how to get them. If they tried at one time, they became frustrated and gave up. We have the resources on campus to help them fight through that. There may be a Social Security benefit that they're entitled to as well. We have the resources that can knock down the barriers, cut through the red tape, and get them the entitlements that they're eligible for.
Yeah, that is wonderful. That is definitely an applause moment. One other thing I noticed on the website that you have a couple of what I would call wins that Guy mentioned earlier, that are out there kind of touting what you've been able to accomplish. Is this something that people that are coming in enjoy seeing, that there is a chance to get past where they're at?
Well, I think so. I mean, I see it every day. I mean, when I see these success stories that happen, some people maybe aren't going to be understanding of everything that we do, but pre-COVID, pre-March 16th, 2020, we were operating with one new housing placement per day on average. The year before, we did 360. So we took 360 homeless people off the street and found them apartments and sustainable housing of their own. And we have kept up that pace. Now, during the COVID year, we still worked extraordinarily hard. And through all of the difficult protocols that we were faced with, the challenges, everything that you can imagine, the next year, our total was 344. So we had a drop of 16, not quite 2 per. I mean, if 360 is 30 a month, we were like 28 and a half. Okay, so it wasn't a huge drop, but that's the end game. That's where we're trying to get to. Get as many people as we can off the street, employed, working, an apartment of their own, and a new way forward.
Nani, did you have a question that you'd like to ask Nick, please?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
I like to ask the hard questions. And the question that I have, which no one else might even be thinking about right now, is I love the way that you refer to the homeless as guests on your campus, but what protocols do you have in place to ensure that your staff is treating your guests humanely?
Well, I would say we're completely transparent. We have, for example, 22 full-time safety and security officers who are walking around in the transitional shelter, all over campus, everywhere. There really are no blind spots. And we put a real premium on everybody's safety on campus. When you walk through intake, okay, you pass through a metal detector just like you would be at the airport going through a TSA checkpoint, right?
Okay.
We're looking for weapons, guns, knives, use your imagination. If you come on campus, you try to enter and you have a weapon, you're out. Turn around. You can't be here.
Okay.
If somebody engages in a physical confrontation, you're banned, you're booted, right? It doesn't, there's not a lot of empathy for that.
Okay.
Our population right now, the mix is 75% male, 25% female. The females who need housing are separated in a different area from the males. If a discovery is made that there is some kind of violence going on toward women, it is confronted immediately. Local police are called in and the perpetrator is taken away and arrested. I will tell you through experience, it is rare. Does
Okay.
it happen? Absolutely. It can and has happened. But we take great painstaking steps to ensure the safety and protection of every guest on campus.
Thank you for that response, but let me ask another question another way, because I think the focus there in your response was more on your guests. My husband and daughters typically go out with a group that they belong to, and they feed the homeless on the weekends. And I know that my daughter has asked the question before of someone why they were not in a shelter. And the response was, they're very nasty to you in the shelters. So I'm asking, and I've seen this, of course, on television. So hopefully this is just on television. But if someone is coming to your shelter, how are they treated? Are they treated respectfully? I'm big on respect. And I know that sometimes when you're having to call, just say, a utility company, you may encounter someone who's rude over the phone. I hate that. And I would think that, you know, with the homeless population, if they know that they're going to encounter people who are going to look down on them or speak to them in a disrespectful manner and make them feel less than, what do you have in place to ensure that's not going on?
Well, we follow the lead of our CEO and our president, Dr. David Woody, who is a nationally recognized advocate for the homeless, not only in Texas, but nationally.
Okay.
And one of the things that he has built within our culture is ensuring that the dignity and respect of every guest that is in the bridge is paid forward all the time, and it's applied. He has an expression. Every guest that we have is wanted here and they're welcomed here. It is not double talk. Do we have some rules about compliance for our guests? Well, I explained a couple of them. You can't be fighting. You can't be bringing weapons on campus. You can't be having contraband or selling contraband on campus. If you do, you will be banned. It's pretty simple. But we have a staff of 100 people. All are committed. They're passionate to the fulfillment of our mission. And I have never seen, experienced, or witnessed in my time at the bridge, some employee who has treated in a disrespectful manner a single guest. I've never seen it. If it ever happened, it would not be tolerated.
Right.
We don't operate that way.
I like hearing that. That's awesome. I founded Rave Reviews Book Club. And again, I'm huge on respect. So I expect that our staff, they treat our members with respect. And I also expect that our members reciprocate that respect. So I understand when it comes from the top, it should trickle down. Thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome. And I would also add this. One of the things that we do, we just don't push out services to our guests and say, here's a buffet, take your pick. What do you want, right? Okay. One of the ways we engage with our guests is that we have open communication, and we have a monthly town hall in our largest open area, our facility in our pavilion, and the guests get the microphone and they get to voice any frustrations that they have. And I've heard everything from the night before my taco wasn't crunchy to he snores over there and I hate being stationed next to him because some of it is wacky stuff.
Right.
But we want to have an open line of communication. We're empowering our guests, even through those town halls, to have a voice and to know that their voices are heard.
Good. Thank you.
I like that. Are there any other questions from our audience?
No, this was a great discussion. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us.
It was my pleasure. I hope I shed some light on this issue. And we'd like to tell everybody that we can that all of us, every single one of us, is one catastrophic event in our lives from being homeless, whether it's a medical emergency, an occupational situation, whatever you can imagine. It's closer than you would even try to believe. And we have empathy and we do everything we can to help people recover from homelessness.
Right. Nick, would you share, I'm sorry, guys, would you please share with our audience how they can help? I mean, if someone wanted to mail in a monetary donation or go to your website, how can we help?
There's two ways, there's multiple ways that people can help. Obviously, they could volunteer if they want to make a financial contribution. Obviously, that's great too. You can go to our website at www.bridgehrc.org. HRC standing for Homeless Recovery Center. That's bridgehrc.org. If you wanted to mail a check, you can mail it to the Bridge Homeless Recovery Center, 1818 Corsicana Street, Corsicana Street, Dallas, Texas, 75201, and put attention Resource Development Department. And we will make sure that it goes to our accounting team. So those are two ways you can give. The easiest way by far is at the website. It's just a couple of clicks.
Guy, it kind of looks like it's time for us to wrap up, but I think this has been a very worthwhile topic.
It has been.
Well, I've been honored to be included. Thank you all for allowing me to speak on such an important issue.
We appreciate you coming here and spending time with us today, Nick. And audience, we sincerely hope that you have learned something and enjoyed today's segment of Let's Talk About It. And we hope we've left you with something to think about. And certainly we've left you with an address to send money to if you want to. And you think about it as people, but also as writers. We are writers, and we have beyond government changes, policy changes, and beyond sending dollars somewhere, we are also writers. So we have that extra tool in our toolbox.
Yeah, that extra voice. And remember, if you miss an episode of Rave Waves, Let's Talk About It, you can always catch up via the archives directly from the Rave Waves show tab on the RRBC site. Thanks to those who joined in the Rave Waves gallery today. I'm Rox Berkey.
And I'm Guy Worthy.
Be safe and bye for now. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Stay safe.
You too.